Good morning, 6AMERS. The 6AMERS began in April 2020 in the heart of the pandemic. Forming this podcast is our way of extending the community and the message of the community into the world. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the 6AMERS podcast. My name is Sky Michaels. I'm your host, and I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Emily Bossert, today. And we're in for a treat today. Very rarely do podcast hosts get to be interviewed. And today we're going to be interviewing our very own Emily Bossert. Emily, how did it feel to be interviewed on the podcast?
You know, it felt really good. It happened during a time where we had just gone through the Marshall fires in Boulder County. So it was a very raw time. It was a very honest and vulnerable time. So I believe that the timing was right for that interview, for sure.
That was awesome. And if you remember too, we created that fundraiser that raised, I think it was $125,000 for people that were affected by the fire, and your leadership was incredible. What were your, thinking back on the interview, Emily, what were some of your highlights or memories from doing it?
Yes, something that I am truly passionate about, and that is empowering other people, and very specifically women. You know, I feel like as women, or just as humans, a lot of times we tend to compare ourselves to other people, which there can be a healthy comparison, just like there's healthy selfish. However, there's also a level that you can go to where you go beyond healthy when you're comparing yourself and it's affecting your own self-esteem. So I find it really important to empower other women moving into that leadership role, because I think we're all humans. We're all sisters here. So we want to elevate one another and mentor one another and become our best selves.
Awesome. And can you tell us a little bit about what you're working on now?
I would love to. So two things that I'll share with you that are really exciting is, first of all, I am co-coaching with the incredible Melanie Klein, and we have a 90-day intensive called How to Go from Ordinary to Extraordinary, because we are all capable of that. There's no one left out in that statement. And then the second thing I'm doing is I'm writing a book called Nourished, and it's a book with regards to genuine wellness in life. So thank you for asking.
Awesome. And Emily, as someone I view as my sister, we joke around about it all the time that, we were related at some point, and I do feel like you were my sister at some point. I just want to thank you for everything I've learned from you. And more importantly, though, I view you as a true leader, and the way that you show up to people in this sort of quiet, confident, magnetic way. You are a beam of light when you walk in a room. People just want to gravitate to you. And the way that you have introduced me to meditation and mindfulness, I will never be able to thank you enough for that. So.
I feel that, Sky. Thank you so much. I think we are all here to help one another succeed, and the feeling is so mutual. I do truly believe at one point we were siblings.
I agree. Well, everyone, enjoy this episode. I don't want to waste too much time. And as you're listening, try to hear the powerful messages that Emily's going to talk about. Tell us a little bit about you and who you are. We'll leave it at that.
I caught myself on the East Coast 6AMers when I introduced myself. The first thing I said was I'm a middle-aged woman, and I started cracking up at myself. I'm like, why would I say that?
It was 4 a.m, so
I know, but it was too funny. I'm like, well, okay. Anyways, yes, I'm Emily Bossert, sales manager in Boulder, Colorado. And, my background, I'm from the Midwest. I'm from a small town in Illinois called Peoria. Not terribly small, actually. It's where Caterpillar, the yellow tractors, Caterpillar tractors, that's where it used to be headquartered. And growing up, I thought that everyone in our town was going to work at Caterpillar when we graduated from high school or college. I'm so glad to find out that is not the case. I now live in the beautiful town of Boulder. My background, I love yoga. I love meditation. Let's see, what else can I tell you? I absolutely love being a sales manager for Compass. I have a younger sister who's 43, who's also a yoga teacher, and parents are healthy, and there we go. There's my background.
That's awesome. Perfect. And with that, Emily, can you give us some background on what's your word of the year and or the month or both, or give us a little background. I love the words popping into you guys. You guys did a good job.
I know, it's so great. So my word of the month, and it's probably going to be my word of the year, words are radiate grace. And the reason for that is because I know with everything that's going on right now in the world, specifically even what we're going through in Boulder County, Colorado right now, that we're actually very privileged to be alive at this time in the world, in history. And I believe we're all here for our own very specific reasons. And it's not about, I mean, it is about us, but it's also not about us. It's about taking care of the world, taking care of each other, and radiating grace out to others. So that is my intention.
I love it. What is like when you say radiate grace, like give me like maybe three specific things that come to your mind that you're going to be very conscious and purposeful about this year.
Right. Okay. That's good. Some of the things I'm going to be conscious about this year, I would say is, when you're in your 20s, in your teens, it's all about you. Then when you get into your late 20s, early 30s, if you're lucky, it's not all about you. And then maybe in your 40s, and I can't even imagine what 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s is going to look like. But we realize it's not about us at all, quite frankly. It's about how we take care of others, it's how we serve others, it's how we take care of our planet. It's about the future generations. So one thing about radiating grace is whenever I start thinking about me too much, because it happens, I'm human, I have an ego. I'm going to remember that it's not about me and turn towards others. So I'd say that's the biggest thing about radiating grace. And number two, I'll share radiating grace is all about taking care of myself as well, though. Healthy, selfish, right, Sky?
Yeah, I love it.
In order to radiate grace, we do have to take care of ourselves first and foremost in many different ways, whether it's spiritually, mentally, health, physically, you name it, financially. There are all these things that go into play so that we can show up and radiate grace for others.
I love that. And just so you know, Emily, all my questions are going to be different. So don't, if you're thinking we're going to repeat the same question, it's not. So here's my question to you,
Yeah.
because this is what I struggle with as well. And I'm
Yeah.
sure a lot of people struggle with this. I agree with you. It's all about like what you do for others.
Yep.
How do we do that and also make sure we take care of ourselves? In other words, like how do we make sure our happiness is not tied to other people's happiness? However, we're still taking care of them. Does that make sense as a question?
Yes. And I think it's a daily practice. One of my main yoga teachers would say 99% practice, 1% theory. We can read about it, we can learn about it, but if we're not practicing, it doesn't mean anything. So it's a practice and it's a reminder. It's all the things we do in the 6AMERS when we set our word of intention. When we start our day with our morning routine and we get really grounded in what matters for us, these are all the tools and resources that we need in order to make sure that we can take care of ourselves and take care of others. And it's not perfect. I know we spoke about balance the other day, and it's not perfect. And balance looks different, quite frankly, for all of us. Just to be, like if you're an introvert, balance is going to look very different for you than if you're an extrovert. So you have to think about what is right for you. And there's going to be a lot of moments that we don't do it right, but we also learn from those moments and then we begin to do it right. And we can always start over. We can always begin again. That's what I love.
I love that.
Yeah.
How is it being an introvert in like an industry like real estate? Because you obviously, it's pretty obvious I'm an extreme extrovert, right? Like, but I know you're an introvert.
You know, Yeah, that's a great question. And it's interesting because I think a lot about it because I don't necessarily know if I'm it depends on what time of day it is that you ask me
Yeah.
if I'm an introvert or what part of the month it is, quite frankly. So it changes. But what I'll say is what I know is I get why I know I'm an introvert is because when I'm in loud crowds, like if I'm at a concert and so many people are talking, I get overwhelmed by overstimulation, and I can't focus and I'm just overstimulated and I need to go to a really quiet place to get centered again. Same thing if I'm in a group of people. If I'm one-on-one, I'm extroverted as can be. But if I'm in a group of people, that overstimulation happens again, and I need to recharge my batteries.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say the difference is. So for instance, Austin Retreat, this is a great place, and I'm sure introverts will understand this. I had to make sure that I was taking care of myself big time. A lot of you would see me leave. I would leave early. I would go to bed. I would go, oh, I have to go do this. I'll see you in 30 minutes. It was
Yeah.
because I was taking care of myself.
Yeah.
And it's totally okay. Little Emily, younger Emily hated that, was like, why can't I be like everyone else? Adult Emily is like, no, taking care of myself. I love you all, but I also need some space.
That's awesome. That's so great. And obviously, if everyone, I was the polar opposite. I was like, I'm gonna destroy my body as much as I possibly can.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's interesting because of the fact that I think as an extrovert, you don't give a fuck. You just go. Like, it's just like you're just like rolling, right? And then, but as an introvert, I think and I know when I say introvert, I don't mean you're in a turtle shell in any way, shape, or form.
Right, right.
I just enjoy more. I love crowds, and you love
Yes.
one-on-one, right? And I love
Yeah,
one-on-one too, but
totally.
you can be good in a crowd. But I think it's interesting because I think there is more comparison when you're an introvert of like, wow, why aren't I more like that?
Why? I know. And Sky, you're the perfect example of the extrovert. And younger Emily would have been like, why can't I be more like Sky? But now the lovely thing about life is that I can appreciate how you are.
Yeah.
And I love that you're out there doing your thing. And I also love that I get to go take a nap.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And
Yeah.
Emily, so here's a question that is coming to my mind. How do people embrace who they are and avoid comparison? And then
Woo.
my line, right? My line is comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
How do people embrace who they are and avoid comparison?
Now, this has been a hard one for me. And I'll give you some personal examples. My husband is a huge introvert. And, back in the day, he's 14 years older than me. Back in the day, he was in a fraternity, and he and his fraternity brothers are like the most close, tight-knit group of guys. And so are their wives. And they love to party. Like, this guy, they can party me under the bus, and I'm 14 years their junior. So I tell you what, I compared myself a lot. That's one of the situations that I would in my younger years compare myself to them, and oh my gosh, I can't keep up with them. But the reality is first of all, number one, just sharing like, hey, this is who I am. So many of them are like, oh my gosh, tell me more. Like, I totally get it. And how do you take care of yourself? And can you give me any advice? So it's more like just really, let me think. There's always going to be someone who is healthier, who is smarter, who is prettier, you name it in our world.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest. So
Better
hair, right. So if we can, instead of comparing ourselves, look at the world in the sense of there's so many different, like if we can embrace the differences and appreciate each other for the differences instead of going, gosh, why can't I do that? Why didn't I get that many likes on my social media? Whatever it is, however you compare yourself, instead, if you can just appreciate the differences and also go, yeah, I'm really glad I am who I am, but I can also really support them. This is a big thing, I would say, especially in the female community. And I'll just share this. Females, and I'm not saying all females, but younger females specifically tend to compare themselves to one another. And it's not healthy. And you'll see it. I think most females out there know that this exists. It exists in younger women specifically. Instead, if we could come together and really appreciate one another as sisters and fellow human beings, and cut through all of that noise, we could do amazing things.
Let's expand on this more. Emily, tell me more about why you feel
that is the case, especially maybe among younger generations, like,
Yeah.
where's that coming from?
It's coming from when I was a teenage girl. When I was 16, I was bullied by some females in high school due to a very specific reason. I had my best friend, Sherry. Um, there were, this is going to sound so silly and trivial now because we're all adults, but my best friend had this boyfriend and he started calling me, and word got out that we were flirting. And then this guy, Chad was his name, was in a car accident, was killed. So it took a really bad turn. And what happened was I was a little bit ousted because Emily was flirting with your boyfriend and she's a bad human being. And there was a lot of bullying that happened at that time.
Yeah.
And we were just young. We didn't know any better, we didn't know any better. But what it did was it showed me the reality, and something that I see a lot now. And I think it's because I'm more sensitive to it, that women can get highly competitive and compare themselves to one another, whether it's insecurity, whether it's jealousy, whether it's just this group mentality of picking on people, instead of, there's like a competition. And instead of all of that, I think if we as women could rise to the occasion and say, especially if we see younger generations doing this, and just say, listen, this is not cool. These are your fellow sisters, and we need to elevate one another and really embrace and help them build their strengths, because they're just insecure human beings. That's all it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're all insecure, right? We're
all of us, no matter what age we are.
Yeah. Yeah. And gender too. I mean, men.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I agree with you 100%. I think their pressure as a father of a daughter who's
yes.
11, now it's interesting. And I think the difference in today's generation, as well as when I'm 44. So when I was growing up, like, I could leave school and you could detach from it. And today's generation, the phone, social media, TikTok, right? You're bombarded all day with these images of perfection, filters, right? Like, people posting pictures with filters. It's like, yeah, of course you look amazing when you have a computer, erasing everything, but that's not reality. And like, if we can get to this point in our world where we love reality, right? We love our imperfections. Like, I remember, I'll just talk about myself for a second. I remember when I was losing my hair, and that self-consciousness I had, the minute I shaved my head, I was like, done. Now, I love being bald. Even if I had hair, I would still shave it. So
I love it.
That you had to embrace, but you had to embrace it, right? And it's like, that's a hard thing as any human being, of comparison. And if we can get out of this world of, when we feel ourselves comparing, and realtors do this with social media.
You and I, Sky, we hear about this,
Yeah.
we have agents come to us and say, I see what so-and-so is doing and I can't live up to that. And the reality is what we're presenting out to the world on social media is most of the time not real. We all know it's the highlight reel. So it's not reality. And we're comparing ourselves to someone else who wants something very different than what we want in our lives.
Yeah.
So to focus back within on, all right, what is it that I actually want? Do I really want that? Probably not when I think about it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk a little bit about being a strong female leader that you are. Like, how do you consciously build up, your sisters?
Yes, thank you. I love that question.
Yeah.
I love that question. I shared on the East Coast a mantra that my dad, I don't even like to I shouldn't call it a mantra, but something that I'd heard from my father when I was a young girl. He used to say, women and children should be seen and not heard. And it became like this awful, awful statement. And it's not real, obviously. And my father is very conventional, overly traditional human being. But I think what that did for me, and I'm actually, when I look back in hindsight, I do believe we choose our family members and the life that we are brought into. I chose him. I chose him for that very reason, because I had to unlearn that lesson big time in order to step into my own authentic power. So some of the things about stepping into your own power, your own leadership, and how that's gone for me as a female is, well, first of all, it took a lot of work in the sense, and it still takes work, a wonderful therapist as well. Meditation has been huge for me. The ability to turn inwards, to get quiet, to do the personal work that's required, and then to truly trust yourself and to trust your voice. There are a lot of voices out there, a lot of opinions out there, but we know that once you get really confident in knowing that your voice is going to be honest with you and the most honest voice out there, then that's where you can start leading from, because that's the heart voice.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. How is your how has leadership shown up in the last week or so, and last 10 days?
Yeah.
Well, first off, let's, and I know that we have a bunch of Colorado people and
Yeah.
on the call, of course, but tell us, maybe for everyone that wasn't local, and I also want to acknowledge there's a lot of people we've heard from California, from other areas of the country that have suffered from losses of not wildfire, or fire, I guess I should say. Tell us, maybe give everyone a little bit of an idea of what happened on the 30th of December.
Sure.
And recall it from your perspective.
Absolutely. One of the things, first of all, that's happened is that this fire has opened my eyes to how many things happen around the country, that because we are distant locationally from them, we can't comprehend what actually happened. So what happened on our end, and I'll speak personally, that morning, I think it was Thursday morning, the winds in Boulder County were tremendous. I've never seen such intense winds other than hurricane winds. And power kept flickering, internet kept flickering. Later that afternoon, I started getting word that this incredible town, this beautiful town called Superior, was being evacuated, and evacuated very quickly. Like, for instance, people were not getting reverse 911 calls saying, you need to evacuate. People didn't know. So people were at work, people were on vacation, and were not able to get back to their homes. Then we got word that Louisville was also evacuating. And they shut down the 36 highway corridor between Denver and Boulder in parts, because the fire was moving a football field at a time so fast that people just had to get out. And what happened because of that is we lost close to 1,000 homes in these two towns. And this is in the plains. This isn't in the mountains where we hear about fires. This is like in these beautiful small towns. When you hear about Louisville and Superior, these are like known as like the family towns. So these are your local towns, in complete neighborhoods, subdivisions, gone, like unrecognizable at this point. And what happened, people who were gone out of town, their pet sitters couldn't get back to their pets. People couldn't get, if they were working in Boulder or Denver, couldn't get home quick enough to get the most important things in their lives out of their homes. And so it turned into something just so unbelievable and tragic. And I guess that's what I can share about it at this point. Yeah. There are two people missing. This is the miracle. The miracle is only, and I feel my heart goes out to the families that are missing people right now. Yeah. One person has been found, passed away, but truly 3 people out of, I think it was 40,000 people who had to evacuate. Yeah. Is one of the miracles. Yeah.
Well, I think I've been thinking about this a lot over the last week or so, where yesterday I drove into the office and I was thinking about people in Colorado that left on a normal work day, right? And then all of a sudden everything you own is gone. like everything. And just thinking about that, and obviously anything physical can be replaced, but things like your yearbook, your kids' baby clothes, your Christmas ornaments, that,
Yeah.
those are the things that, yes, like you can rebuild a home, you can buy furniture, everything like that. But some of those things, pets, of course,
But
like, man,
yeah.
I know for you, that's really personal as well.
Yeah.
And my challenge to everyone on the call is to today, actually right now, in the chat, put something that is so basic that we don't even realize we have it. Like for me, coffee. Like I'm so grateful for coffee. Don't put your normal kids and family and all this stuff, but put something in the chat you're so grateful for, right? And today, as you walk through your day, do a rampage of appreciation for everything you have and all the abundance you have in your life, rather than all the stuff that you don't have. And I need to work on my CRM. I need to do this. I need
Right.
to do that.
Right.
I wish I was less pounds. I wish I was like whatever, whatever it is we filter in today. Just rampage appreciation for everything we have, and realize there's 1,000 families out there today that are homeless and trying to figure out life. So anyways,
That's
it's
right.
really powerful. One thing we talked about this morning too is just a real estate tip, because as you guys know, I'm always about CRM, connection, provide value to people. And Emily, you had a suggestion that I never
Yeah.
thought of.
Yeah.
And well, two suggestions for everyone on the call. Number one, if you know renters today, reach out to anyone you know that's renting and just remind them, be like, hey, I was on a call today. Just remember, if you don't have renter's insurance, let me know if you need help getting it. Because one of your
Yeah.
tenants did not have renter's insurance.
One of my tenants, middle-aged man, did not have renter's insurance. When I had to call him and let him know that his place had burned, first thing I asked him was, did you have renter's insurance?
Yeah.
And he said, no. And I now see why I should have. So that is 100% one of the most important things. Also, making sure that you have video of everything inside of your own personal home, and also letting your clients know that. It's such an easy thing to do nowadays. I mean, back in the day when I was 19, we got a video camera and used a VCR and did it that way. But now you just take your camera and walk around your house and record everything, so that if you ever have to itemize, because you will have to if you lose your home. If you ever have to itemize, it will be tremendously helpful to have that already recorded.
Amazing. And guys, think about a bulk email. This is all providing value. If anyone is like, hey, I'm going to send the GoFundMe out to my sphere, do that. But then also provide a message of like help as well, or value.
Yeah.
You can give this, like, that's such a easy, simple suggestion. That,
Yeah.
man, like, why you could, that one action, that one email could save someone, so much heartbreak or so much stress on that, right? And it's so simple and so easy. And that's our job as realtors, is to be advisors, not to be, salespeople. Like we need to be advisors.
Another thing my husband said to me after that, because I had packed up because I was prepared to have to leave our home as well.
Yeah.
And he said, you've gone through this before, so you know what you want to pack. I've never done this before. I haven't even thought about what I would actually take with me if I had 5 minutes to leave my home.
Yeah.
So to think about that too.
Yeah.
What would you put in a bag
Yeah.
if you had 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, your go bag? Exactly, Ira.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, Emily, let's shift gears a little bit into real estate.
Okay.
We've been talking a little bit about life and all this stuff, but tell us a little bit about your real estate background, because I don't know how many people know your real estate story. So give us a quick rundown of how you got into real estate and then how you got to Compass.
Great. Okay. So back in 2010, I was going through a separation and divorce. I was living in the Midwest in Illinois and was practicing a lot of yoga, teaching yoga as well. And my main yoga teacher, Patabi Joyce, passed away at age 93. And I said, who's next in line? Who do I want to study with? Because like all of you, when we look for mentors and when we look for coaches, we're looking for those people that walk the talk, that are actually living the life that we want to see ourselves living. And for me, that was Richard Freeman and Mary Taylor at the yoga workshop in Boulder. Started visiting Boulder. And for those of you who have been here, it's pretty amazing here. The sun is shining, the mountains are beautiful, everyone's incredibly healthy. Talk about comparison. Oh my gosh. I was like, where have I moved?
Yeah.
Anyways, I realized it was the perfect time to make a move. So moved cross country, moved to Colorado. And my goal at the time was I wanted to work for a strong and successful woman. That was what I was looking for. And we all know that what we manifest, what we put out there will come to us. And we have to be careful with what we ask for, because we have to be very clear. I wasn't very clear, although it was the most amazing experience. Ended up answered a Craigslist ad for a busy top real estate in Boulder. Happened to be the Bernardi Real Estate Group. Didn't know anything about Karen Bernardi. Anyways, went in for the interview, started the next day, quickly learned that, we had a team we had Karen Bernardi was the listing agent. We had 3 buyers agents. We had a listing manager, marketing manager, closing manager, transaction coordinator, 2 field couriers, an accountant, and a prospector. And Karen Bernardi herself had single-handedly listed 150 active homes at that point. She was part of the Mike Ferry. She's part of the Mike Ferry system. So it was it was trial by fire in the sense it was sink or swim. There was no training. It was like, keep up, here you go, let's move. And it was the best way to learn. And I love learning that way. So, years later, I worked with her for 10 years. At the end of my time there, I was Karen's listing partner and the director of operations for our team. And Compass, a dear friend of mine, Catherine Burgess, and I are accountability partners. And she was one of the founding agents in Boulder. And she said, have you heard of Compass? I think we're going over there, but keep it hush hush, And I was like, well, who's Compass? I've never even heard of them. And she said, can I have them call you? Literally got a call that day. Went through 2 months of interviews and was so impressed. And was like, I don't know about you, Sky, but I felt like this is too good to be true. This can't be real.
Yeah.
This company can exist. Well, they do. And to this day, I just am I don't take it for granted a single day of the week. And moved over to Compass as sales manager, was told, listen, here's the role. And you have to put selling to the side, because we don't want you to be in competition with the people you're coaching and helping and connecting with. And I said, you better believe it. For this, I will absolutely do that, because I do believe as sales managers, we should not be in competition with the people we are helping grow their business. So here I am.
Great. That's so good. So give me a lesson. What did you learn from Karen? Because I know.
Oh gosh, so much.
Yes.
So much. The secrets to the kingdom. I learned how I wanted, some of the most important, well, I'll start here. I learned how to get listings. I learned how to negotiate and to close deals very quickly. I mean, I was going 10 listing appointments minimum a week, getting 85 to 90% of those listings. And there's a really great way to do that. And I learned so much from her around that. I learned so much about running a team. And on the flip side, I also learned what not to do and what I wouldn't do if I were to start my own team, or if I was to become a listing agent or a realtor again, the things I wouldn't do. So I learned a lot on both sides. But what I learned, I think the biggest lesson I learned was I watched this successful woman who literally, before she got into real estate, she was living in a teepee in this town called Netherland. She got pregnant, had a baby, couldn't afford electricity, drove down into Boulder and went to a emergency family assistance and said, I need gas money and electricity and I'll do the rest. And she found Mike Ferry and turned her life around and she's still the top agent in Boulder County. I know we don't like to talk about that here.
It's okay. No comparison. We don't compare.
No comparisons, no comparisons. But so a lot of lessons. I mean, to this day, I talk to her probably once a quarter. Nice. And I thank her for, like, I wouldn't be where I am today had it not been for, and here's how I learned. She didn't teach me anything. I listened 24/7. Everything she said, I pretended like she was talking to me. Every listing appointment she went on, I was right next to her. I soaked it up like nobody's business.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, if you were to start a team, what would the things be that you'd want to insert into your business if you were to start a team?
I would have more work-life balance. That's one of the things I would insert. This was 24/7. I was on call 24/7. We all were. And it wasn't healthy, and we all burnt out, and we lived burnt out lives. There was also this sense of fear that if we didn't produce, we were going to be fired, essentially. I would not run it that way. It would be more collaborative. It would be way more aligned with Compass, but a lot of the practices would still be there. I know what works. If you're doing the same disciplined thing day after day and you're making your connections and you're being persistent, exactly, you will succeed. It's inevitable. And so there's a lot I would take with me as well.
Yeah, so great. That's so great. How about now managing, moving into the management role? And you've been here 3 years as a manager?
Almost 3 years. March will be 3 years.
What's been your greatest mistake as a sales manager?
Greatest mistake. Ooh, this is a good one because it turned into something amazing. My greatest mistake was to compare myself in the beginning. So those of you who know our sales manager, I started at the same time as Heather Bustos. Heather Bustos is like the Sheryl Sandberg of Facebook. I started alongside her. She is hands down the most amazing human being, and I love her to death. But when I first started, I compared myself to who she is. This woman could be an attorney right now. She talks, she can blow any attorney away. And I compared myself. I didn't have the same strengths as Heather had. We have a lot of the same strengths, but we don't have all of the same strengths. And there was a gap where I didn't feel like I was living up to my expectations or to everyone's expectations because I wasn't Heather. And that was a mistake because we all need to build our own strengths and we all have our own offerings. And the moment I had that conversation and actually shared it, the shift happened. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, no more. Yeah. Like, this is somebody I can learn from, and I appreciate her 100%. And we are partners in crime. And we each have our own areas that we can support agents in now. And it's incredible. Yeah. So the good news and the thing to share about that was, I'm so glad I opened my mouth and I shared, because that was the moment where that comparison was able to dissolve and I was able to appreciate my value.
So
instead of myself.
And I think of all my sisters, and as sales managers, I see Becca Locke on the call.
Yep.
Becca has Chris Nelson, who you two are like tight, you and Heather, I think of. Yes. Like, there's so many sisters out there that are in the sales manager crew that are just mentors I look up to as leaders. And when Heather talks, I'm like, yes.
Exactly. We all are.
She's incredible. We're so lucky to have that. So Emily, as my last question, then I'm going to try to do the 6 at 6. And I'm not good at this because I let you handle that.
You are too. You're great.
All right. So my last question, if you had one piece of advice for every female leader on this call, and every woman that's on this call is a leader. And I'm because of the fact I really want to, you said it so eloquently on the East Coast, I want to highlight it. What would be your one piece of advice for every female leader on this call? And by the way, if you are a woman on this call, you are a female leader.
That's right. Well, that's the piece we all need to recognize, is we all are female leaders. We all are. The way I look at it is we are all on the edge of a cliff, all of us. And most of us have one foot tipping over the edge, just touching the air, and the other foot holding us back. And we're teetering back and forth, and we don't know if we're ready. One of the things about being a female that I know, and I've heard this from so many of you out there, is there's this sense that we're not ready yet, that we have to get more degrees, that we have to do more before we're actually ready to step into our power, which is so not true. Literally, the moment we decide to step over that edge, we realize that we have wings and we're not going to fall. We're going to fly. Well, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to fail. And that's part of how we get to learn to fly. Every baby bird that learns to fly is going to fail at first. But if you take that step forward right now, and we all have those moments in our life right now where we're on that edge teetering. I don't care, male, female, who we are. The moment we take that next step, which we know we need to take, and we can hold off for years, we can hold off for decades before we do this. But the minute we take that step, we realize, oh, I can fly. And why didn't I do this before?
That's awesome. Yeah.
So my word of advice is to trust yourself. My sentence of advice is to trust yourself and take that next step now. Don't waste any more time.
Yeah, incredible. I love that. And it's a great way to end our interview. Emily, it's been an amazing morning. So we'll end the call with our 6 at 6. So I'm going to try to fumble through this and remind me of the questions. So
okay.
Yeah, what's your favorite 6x6 question?
My favorite 6x6 question is, who's your first
celebrity crush? Okay, we're going to start with that. Who's your celebrity crush?
Well, apparently I love mullets because I love David Bowie from the Labyrinth. Who knew? He's still, even though he's no longer with us, that man is the coolest man ever, in my opinion.
That's great. How about, let's go the one book, or actually, you know what? I'm going to go the movie, because
the movie.
Yeah, let's go movie.
Oh.
Not the Labyrinth, but
no, I won't use the Labyrinth. Movie. Oh, I'm going to share one that I really love. It's called Heal, the documentary. Used to be available on Netflix. I don't know if you can see it on Netflix, but you can see it on YouTube, I believe. Just watch it. I've watched it probably 10 times. It has some really great spiritual teachers on there, and it's all about how we can heal, why we don't heal, why there are so many people out there that say they want to heal, but actually don't want to heal. It's amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite agent? No, I'm kidding. Just kidding. Who actually, on a serious note, who at Compass in a leadership role, like, do you look up to?
Well, Sky, I know this is going to be so. Besides Sky, who do I look up to? Oh my God, there's so many, but I'm gonna use my Heather Bustos. Yeah. She is. I am getting emotional already. She's like the biggest light, and she's my sister, and we talk about personal things. We are friends. She is there for me 24/7. She pushes me to be a better and stronger leader. She is just, if you don't know her, get to know Heather Bustos.
We'll interview her for sure.
Yes.
I love the emotion you have right now.
Yeah.
It's awesome. If you could pick one city that the Compass retreat would be in, what would it be?
Oh, I want to go to San Diego.
Yeah, I wish it would be in San Diego as well.
Yes, that's where I want to go. Melanie, Montana, get on that.
All right, last question. What's the first thing you're gonna do after this call?
I am going to go shovel We got a
Good.
lot of snow last night, and I think my hubby's probably out there shoveling, so I'm going to go out
Nice.
there and help him shovel.
And that's good for you guys, right? You needed that snow. Isn't that a
Woo,
good thing?
we needed it. Yes.
Good.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, good. Jen just let me know schools are closed. Okay.
Yeah.
I wondered about that.
It was an awesome morning talking to you for 2 hours.
Thanks for joining us for this week's episode. Be sure to check out the show notes to get more information on the 6AMERS and today's guest. To support the show, we would be beyond grateful if you could leave a review and subscribe to the podcast. We always love hearing from you. On behalf of Emily, myself, and the team here at the 6AMERS, we want you to know that you are loved, appreciated, and deserving of healthy, selfish moments. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.